Over the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to make you realize that your content is actually shit. No, I'm just joking. I know that for the majority of you watching this video, your content actually is really good. Already getting likes, already getting follows, already getting leads, already getting clients and making money from your content online. But I also know for a fact that it feels harder to get all of those things than perhaps it should, or perhaps that you just want it to, right? And how do I know that? Well, because that was me. And I was someone where 2020, I grown my audience from 0 to 100,000 followers in the space of 9 months. And I've done all of that with my organic content on Instagram. And that's before Reels ever existed. But there was a problem. The problem was that I had built an audience of freebie seekers without realizing it. I had built my audience purely off of value content, teaching people how-tos, tutorials, you name it. I had built my audience and I had taught them that I was the free guy. And so for me, I struggled massively to actually monetize my audience at first because I had taught them that I gave them all the information up front for free anyway, right? And there were other mistakes I made in terms of the sales process and whatnot, but fundamentally it's my content that was the issue. And actually, I'm going to correct myself there because it wasn't the content that was bad, it was the messaging that was bad. And that tends to be the case with most of the people that I help. It's that your content isn't bad, right? Or your content strategy, but your messaging is. And I want to just explain the difference there quickly. Content strategy is all about what you post. It's the topics, right? It's the high level strategy on what you want to talk about on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, the topics, the lessons you're trying to give, where you're trying to point people, what's the goal, what's the call to action, what's the asset you're giving away. That's your content strategy. And for most people, it's pretty solid, right? It's not really too much of a problem there. The problem is in the messaging. The messaging is how you do that. The messaging is how you write your content. The messaging is how you write a hook. It's how you speak to the soul of your dream soulmate client, right? And that's where most people go wrong. And so when you're getting likes and follows and shares and comments and leads, but the people that you're attracting are on paper the right person, but they're not pre-sold, they're not all in on you, they have objections, they have concerns and limiting beliefs, and they want to speak to another coach first, or they see you as an option, whatever it might be, that's because of messaging. And so in this video, like I said, over the next 15, 20 minutes or so, I want to just not give you the solution, being quite frank. I'm not going to give you the answers in this video, but what I am going to do is make you realize that your messaging is the priority that you need to solve now. Because what did I do at first to try and fix my issue of, converting my audience? Well, I've done all the things you're told you should do. I tried to do more sales calls. I tried to be more pushy. I tried to improve my objection handling. I tried to introduce discounts and promos and other forms of urgency. I tried to chase more people. I'd done more outbound DMs. I posted more content, more value, more lead magnets, more freebies, hired the setter to have more conversations. I'd done all of the things that you're told you should do to improve and get more sales. And did it work? Well, it worked to some degree, and we did end up going up to about 5K, 6K months. But that was kind of it, right? And that was with an audience of 100,000 followers. But it's only once I shifted my messaging, it's only when I changed how I make my content, how I say things, how I come across, that I then turned my audience into $2 million in cash. And obviously that's over a span of a few years, but that's the difference, that's the reality. And so you have to ask yourself the question of, if you've not fixed your messaging, and if you're having all of those symptoms and all of those issues I mentioned earlier, what's that costing you, right? How much more money, how many more clients could you have, or could you have had over the past few years if you just fixed your messaging? How many more dream clients? How much easier would your job, how much easier would your coaching feel? How much more, enjoyment and actual excitement would you have towards your business if every day you're waking up to the best leads, the best quality people reaching out to you, but also the best quality people to be working with? I love what I do. Now, that doesn't mean that there are some days that are shit. Of course there is. But overall, I love what I do and I love who I work with. And it has nothing to do with the fact of reaching out and pushing people and trying to use promos and urgency to get them to buy. No, it is all to do with the fact that I've built a messaging infrastructure unique to me that attracts the right people in the first place to my page. And so this video, I simply just want you to realize that your messaging needs to be fixed before you do anything else. And I'll put up on the screen now somewhere a few examples of my clients who came to me doing the exact same stuff as what I was. And once we fixed their messaging, it changed everything and it made things easier and it helped them scale faster than anything else they had tried before. And so I'm not going to teach you it now here in my pajamas in person. I'm actually going to give you a clip from one of my best selling and one of my most impactful lessons in my program, Soul Content. I'm going to just put that clip into this video. I think it's about 15 minutes. And I'm going to basically explain the signs of bad messaging and the signs of good messaging. All I'm going to ask of you is if overwhelmingly you have more bad signs of messaging than you do good signs of messaging, that's your bottleneck. That is what you need to fix first before you consider fixing or adding anything else to your business. And so let's get started. Over to Harry from a few months back when I filmed this video. Let's get into it. So first thing I want to do is I want us all to audit our content. Okay, and we're going to do this together. And you're going to kind of give me like a yes or a no in the chat. So I'm going to give you this little quiz. I want to go through each of these points one by one. And as I read them out, you're going to put either yes, you've experienced it, or no in the chat. And the whole idea here is that if you have maybe 4, 5 or more where you're saying yes, even just 1 or 2, your messaging can be improved. Right? Bad messaging sounds quite harsh. Messaging that needs to be improved, right? Rather than bad messaging, probably a better way to put it. But this is how you know your content is the bottleneck. Again, another big problem we all face is that if we have, issues, it can be both, Melissa, recently and in the past. Yeah, put both together in a sense. But one of the big problems with us business owners when trying to scale our business, it's not that we don't know what to do, it's we don't know what to do first, right? Or we're doing the wrong things, or even we're doing the right things, but we're doing them in the wrong order. And because we're doing them in the wrong order, that now becomes doing the wrong thing, right? And so a lot of the times, the problems we have in our business, we might think it's an offer problem. We might think it's a sales problem. Actually, it's a content problem, right? A lot of it revolves and comes from your content or your messaging, right? And so let's go through each of these one by one. So number one, a sign of messaging that can be improved is you are posting consistently. Let's say that's almost every day or every day or even more, but irregular sales. And when I say irregular sales, I mean that 1 month you get 3 clients, the next month you get 1, the next month you get 10, the next month it's 5. It's a little bit all over the place. Just put yes or no if you've experienced that in your business. Yeah. And I'd imagine it's going to be yes to most of these things, right? And this is not like a gotcha. This is just a reality, right? And something to be aware of. Okay, great. Second point, you're getting followers, but they're the wrong followers. Now, you know what the wrong followers are for you, right? In terms of if they're qualified, not qualified, they're the right industry, right niche, whatever, you know. You're getting followers, but they're the wrong followers. Yeah. Now, worth noting here, you're never going to be in a situation where all of the followers you get are the right followers, just to be clear, right? So don't stress if you're doing all the right things, but you're still not getting 100% of the right followers. It's never going to be the case, right? It's never going to be the case. Just accept that as a reality, but we want to see more of the right followers coming through, even if that means you're getting less followers, right? It's not a bad thing, getting less followers. And the third point here in the middle, you have great followers, right? You know that the people following you are your potential dream clients, but they're not reaching out to you. Maybe they engage, maybe they comment a few times, maybe you see them on your stories, but they're just not reaching out. They're just not clicking and saying, yep, that's me. Or yes, opting in for the lead magnet. Yeah, cool. Not even doing followers, not yet, Blaze, don't worry. Yeah, yeah. Again, it's all content. It's all it is. Content, communication, messaging. We can kind of batch them all into one. The fourth point: needing sales calls to close clients. And what I mean by this is you need sales calls. It's not that you are doing sales calls. I just want to understand here who feels like if you're currently doing sales calls, you have to do a sales call. Like if you don't do a sales call, you won't get a client, right? If you try to sell something in the DMs, it'll be like no chance. This is how I felt. Not I'll say not long ago, over a year ago. That's where I was. I was like, I can't imagine a world where someone pays me thousands of dollars in the DMs without a sales call. That's how hard sales felt. And again, a lot of that is content related. Point on the right. So the fifth point, you hear quite often, I'll come back, or I can't afford it. I'll join next time, stuff like that. Sort of objections. Sometimes they're not even that big objections, but they're objections that people give nonetheless. Yeah. Yep, I imagine so. Great. Let's speed up a little bit. Last five on the bottom. So bottom left, attracting unaligned clients. So what I mean by this is people reach out to you. They are people that you can help, right? In terms of, on paper, by definition, you can help them, but perhaps they just don't align with you in terms of values, in terms of belief. Maybe there's someone who, maybe asks a bit too much of you, right? They constantly pester you. They're not your person, right? They're a client you can help, but they're just not your person. They're not someone, I like to say, you can imagine yourself going to the pub and having a beer with them, right? Obviously, not everyone might do that, but as a metaphor. Yeah. Right. Inbound leads are generic and cold. So what I mean by this is that I imagine that everyone here, at least the majority, get inbound leads to some degree. Whether that's one a month, one a day, you get inbound leads to some degree. But there's a difference between a lead who reaches out and is like already sold, all in, it's like they are just ready to pay, and a lead who reaches out and they're sort of curious, hey, I'm curious what you do. Tell me more. I'm just weighing up my options, right? Or when you're asking them questions, you get a bit of a cold response. It's like, tell me more about your business. I'm a coach. Okay, tell me more. I sell, help people make money on Instagram. Okay, great. Tell me more, right? Those types of people, they're not really giving you much back. Again, it's a connection problem. Leads over asking about your offer and pricing. So fairly related to that. Maybe you get to the point of you're about to jump on a call, you're about to make an offer, but all they care about is tell me the price. How does it work? Tell me the price. How many calls is there? How long is it? Right? All of that kind of stuff. Yeah. I've lost count of the yeses. All I can see is yeses. So I'm assuming it's yes for most of these, which again is normal. It's normal. And final 2 points. Too wide of a variety in leads you attract. So what I mean here is that let's say that I'm trying to attract coaches, right? But it might be that, I attract coaches who are completely starting from scratch, right the way through to coaches who are making 8 figures in their coaching business, and everyone in between. You might think, oh, that's great, you're getting lots, but it's not, because you're attracting many different people that require many different solutions, right? And look at you for help in many different ways, which means there's an underlying messaging problem there for you, right? And the final one, probably the worst one to hear, is that leads see you as an option. So if you ever hear, I've got a call with another coach, or I'm weighing up my options, or you're one of many people I'm checking out. Not a nice one to hear, but again, it's a fairly regular one. Again, it's all to do with messaging, all to do with content. And like I said, the issue is you would look at a lot of these things and you would say, well, maybe, if I'm attracting leads over asking about my offer and pricing, maybe it's my sales process, right? Or if I need sales calls to close clients, maybe it's the offer and its positioning. And it's not. It's the content. A good analogy I like to use before we move on, I speak a lot about funnel versus an engine. Everyone inside SCB will know what I'm referring to more than maybe other people who are new here. But a funnel, traditional funnel, right? The goal of a funnel is to filter, right? It's to get as much traffic as possible and to filter that traffic. And eventually you get quality leads and quality clients out the other end. That's the purpose of a funnel. It is a filtration mechanism, right? Just like a funnel in real life. An engine doesn't work that way. An engine doesn't filter. It takes the fuel that you give it and it combusts and it creates energy, right? I'm all about building an engine, but an engine works the best when you give it the right fuel. And in this instance, it means giving your business the right traffic, the right leads, right? And that comes from your messaging. So you can have the right offer, you can have the right sales process, you can have all the right things, but if you're not fueling your engine with the right fuel, then it doesn't work, right? Just a little analogy I thought was useful for you to think about, and just really the importance of getting your messaging right. Now, these are signs of good messaging. I'm not going to go through each of these one by one and ask you to vote, but just for you to be able to either take a photo and screenshot. You're going to get this anyway after, don't worry. But this is just so you can identify when things are improving. Because not every metric or KPI is a number, right? You may not see the income going up or the number of leads going up or your sales increasing. But these are the softer KPIs, the softer metrics you need to be aware of, right? People start replying to you as if you're in their head. And they're like, I can't believe you're literally saying what I'm thinking. Great sign of good messaging. If most of your new followers, or at least a lot more of them, fit your criteria you're looking for. If you get more consistent leads, even daily inbound leads, which is the ideal dream scenario for most of us here. If you're able to close clients with ease, right? I'm sure some of you would have at least experienced this once, where you sold to someone and it's like you've not even sold. You know, it's like it was the easiest conversation. They were already sold by the time you even spoke to them. Like that should be all the time. You know, or we should at least aspire to that being all the time. Less objections or smaller objections, even conditions, which is just like, I can't join now, I'm getting married this month, something, you know, but I'll join next month. That's a condition, it's not an objection. The clients you do have become more like friends and they stay for longer. Again, because you like them more, they like you more, you resonate more. Lifetime value increases. Inbound leads share their life story and use your phrases. Like sometimes quite literally, you know, a lead reaches out, you say, great, tell me more about your business and what you're up to. Next thing you know, you're reading a 5-page novel, right, about their entire life story. You know, and strangers don't open up to strangers just like that. There has to be an unlock there in terms of how they connect with you for that to happen. And whenever I see that in my conversations, and it's not all the time, I know I've got a really good lead there. Right? There's already a foundation of trust built for them to be able to do that. But a big one is the phrases. We're going to come on to this a little bit later on today. The phrases, the language, the words, the examples, the metaphors, stories you tell. When your leads start repeating these things back to you, that's when you know you've hit a jackpot with something. That's when you know you've got a scalable message, right? Everyone talks about a scalable offer. No one talks about a scalable message, right? Or a scalable idea, something that can capture the minds of your leads at scale, not just for the odd person here and there, but everyone. Again, we're going to come on to that a little bit later. Leads find and buy from you quicker. Within 24 hours, within days, it's possible. Won't be all the time, but it is possible. Your leads fit a certain mold, so there's less sort of random variety. And the final point is leads see you as the only option. They come to you and only for you. Not to see what you're about, not to find out the information, but they're already decided that you are their person. So be aware of these things because you might have some of this already. You might not. But this is the ideal situation we want to build towards. Okay? Just by a show of hands, or just give me a yes or no in the chat. Who feels that their business would be 1,000 times better, more fulfilling, more enjoyable if this was your reality, right? If this was your reality, how, would that improve your life? I don't just mean make more money, right? But would you feel better showing up every day for your business? Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah, yeah, 100%. And look, I want to be careful here. I don't want to sell you the dream, right? And pretend that this is a reality where every lead you have fits this. That's impossible, right? That's not going to happen. We can't control to that degree, but we can certainly get to a point where the majority of our conversation, the majority of our leads fit this. And that's when business, you get in flow. It's when you feel good about business. It's when your business, you start to forget about what you're earning, which we obviously all care about, and you start thinking about the other factors, and you can then start creating with more abundance. And that in itself is what helps you then to scale more, right? Because then the energy is sharp with. So for me, messaging and content is just such a core foundation. So now you've watched that video, and hopefully you realize that your messaging, it needs to be fixed first before you go and fix anything else. If that's the case, and I have convinced you that the messaging needs to be fixed, well, what do you want to do next? Well, there's a few options. Number one, go through a bunch of the other videos on this channel. There's a few little tips and advice that I give around messaging and content that are going to be enough to help you get some results, at least to begin with. Below this video, there'll be a link to a product I have. It's only $22. It's a content format that has worked really well for me. It has the right messaging already baked into it. And just by simply using that, you should see some return. You should see some sort of improvement in the quality of leads, and also then the conversion of those leads into your premium high ticket programs. If, however, you're someone, you want the full Monty, you want the full hands-on support, coaching and help to actually scale your coaching business and take it from, hovering around 10, 20, 30K months, take it to that next level, but do it not through working harder, but through, number one, improving your messaging, then improving your content strategy, and then making sure you have an infrastructure that is simple, that's efficient, and it helps you scale without having to work more and do more work. If that's the case, then below this video is another video. I will need another 20 minutes of your time, and that video just simply explains a bit more about the overall philosophy, the overall system that I teach inside my core program, the Synthesized Coach Blueprint. And after watching that video, if you fully align with how I do things and you want to install part of that system or even the whole system into your business, then just follow the instructions on that video, reach out to me. We can have a very quick conversation, no sales call, and kind of see if that's right for you. Otherwise, keep watching the videos. I release videos like this every week or so, and I hope you found this valuable, and I'll see you either in my DMs or in another video.